Welcome back. You're watching Focus on Africa. Now, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has been president of the African Development Bank for a decade, and his second term will come to an end on September the 1st. The African Development Bank's mission is to help African countries develop economically and socially. In fact, Adesina believes, contrary to many young Africans, that the future of Africa's youth does not lie in Europe, the United States, or elsewhere, but in their homeland. Now, while much of the bank's work goes on behind the scenes and we don't often hear about it, one thing we do see and hear about are the aspects that are lacking on the continent. Around 600 million people, that's half of African citizens, still lack reliable access to electricity and the opportunities that come with it. These include modern healthcare, quality education, a better quality of life, job opportunities, and economic growth. Well, Audrey Brown from our sister, the Focus on Africa podcast, spoke to Akinwumi Adesina, and he began by talking about inequality and poverty.
For me, inequality is not something that is a theoretical concept. It's a reality that I lived as a kid. Not having access to water, sanitation, affordable housing very early. I went to a village school in which I had to walk kilometers to go find water. And so I know very, very well how that is. People are not statistics. Poverty is not a statistic. There's a mother, there's a child, there's a farmer, there's a rural community that needs access to electricity, to water, to sanitation, to health. So everything that I did when I became president of the bank was to actually crystallize that into a very simple, very powerful framework. I was just in Kenya 2 weeks ago, where the president of Kenya gave me the highest national award and distinction of the country. We helped Kenya to increase access to electricity from about 34% to almost 80%. Because of our investments there. One of the villages I went to, there was a lady there called Grace. I was right behind her. We paid for the connection of those villages to the grid. And I remember she was right in front of me, and the minister asked her, "Do you know the African Development Bank?" And she said, "No." "Do you know Dr. Adesina?" She said, "No." "And where is he?" And I was actually standing right beside her. And she said, "All I know is that we once were in darkness, and now we have light." That is how that transformed the lives of that people. You have a rapidly growing youthful population. They are not looking for handouts, okay? They are looking for opportunity to have the skill, the entrepreneurship capacity, and the financing to turn their businesses into great ideas. I've been on record, and I always will be on record, that I don't believe that the future of Africa's youth lies in Europe. It doesn't like the United States, it doesn't lie anywhere else. But
the hundreds of thousands of them that are leaving don't believe you, and they haven't heard you say that.
No, but there are so many that are working in Africa. That's the point I'm making. So the issue is how you turn your demographic advantage into an economic asset and give more priorities to them. First is that, people talk about youth empowerment all the time. I hear it all across. I don't buy it. It's not because I don't want youth people to be empowered. They are not looking for words. They are looking for investment. The issue is how you provide them the capital. And that's why the African Development Bank is now supporting, in many countries, to set up what's called youth entrepreneurship investment banks. These are all new, brand new financial institutions that will allow that 15-year-old, that 16, 21-year-old, to have access to the capital they need to turn their ideas into great businesses.
What would you say to African leaders now?
Yes.
You're in seat until September
1st at 8 a.m.
You meet all of them in various points, and some of them, face very serious challenges inside their countries, not just economic, but in terms of broken promises and so on. What would you say to them?
You can't just depend on the benevolence of others. Benevolence is not a strategy. Investment is the strategy. And so you have to grow into this world based on the discipline of investments, right? But there is no substitute to actually hard-nosed investments in which you actually bring in private capital to unlock all of your assets.
Why is trade, not aid, such a difficult barrier?
Well, the thing is, you don't just wake up trading. The question is, what do you trade in? And what are the structural barriers for you to trade in higher valued products? And that's why you can even open the market for somebody through bilateral trade agreements. But you need a critical infrastructure. That's why the role of African Development Bank and others continue to be critical. Investing in energy, investing in infrastructure, investing in skills, in mobilizing cheap capital for small and medium-sized enterprises to grow, so that you continue to do that. When you come to, say, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, look, I love it, and we are all supportive of it. But this is not the first time we've been trading. We've been trading forever. The issue is we have to build highly competitive industrial value chains that we can trade among ourselves, that we can get the skills, some of the people that are leaving, they come back. So if you're investing, for example, in lithium, manufacturing lithium ion precursor batteries in DRC Congo is 3 times less than United States, Poland, or China. And so when we build those chains, we retain talent, we attract talent. Our young people will do that. So if we want to create more jobs, build industries. When you export raw materials, that is the door to poverty. But when you develop industrial value chains and you add value, that is the highway to prosperity. And that's what I want for Africa.